Stop. Stop right there. Come on, open it. Open it. Ah, you frickin' Zelda all over the place. What's your problem, man?
You said you wouldn't Zelda in front of us anymore!
That's it. We're taking you to therapy.
What the hell am I doing?
Welcome everybody to I Hate My Job. In today's meeting we are discussing a Sky-chan who is apparently addicted to anything with the name Zelda on it. What's the Zelda?
He won't eat, he doesn't sleep, he never leaves his room, he needs some serious help.
So is Zelda some kind of drug?
Yeah, it's a really addictive one.
So how addictive are we talking here? Is it meth, cocaine? Is he some kind of alcoholic?
He tells me he doesn't even love me anymore, but I don't love him either. So f him and me, I don't know. Dude, what a bitch.
Well, Sky, do you see how this addiction is affecting your relationships?
Yeah, I see why I need to stop. Listen, everyone. From this day forward, I will not touch anything with the name Zelda on it!
So what is this then? Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity?
It doesn't say Zelda on it!
Hey, come back! What? I should have been a stripper.
I've loved The Legend of Zelda ever since I was a kid, and with Nintendo announcing the newest game in the franchise, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, I got super pumped. I've never played any Dynasty Warriors games, nor did I play the first Hyrule Warriors game, but when Nintendo said I get to experience the events of Breath of the Wild 100 years ago, I was like, yes. Breath of the Wild was my sick addiction there for a minute. I may or may not have stopped living for a couple weeks to save my waifu Zelda. Hashtag Team Zelda. God, Mifa is a fish person, people. Let the comment section waifu war begin. When I found out I get to dive back into Hyrule before Tish went down and everyone died, I jumped at the opportunity. I loved all the animated cutscenes from Breath of the Wild, and the story it told, and now we get to see more. Plus, I mean, Breath of the Wild has been nothing but good to this channel. Don't worry, before we go any further, I'm not going to spoil the story in this video because honestly, this game was meant for Zelda fans. I mean, you could pick up this game even if you haven't played Breath of the Wild, but you should play it first to make this experience that much more exciting. So yes, no spoilers, but that means you have to watch this entire video. If you don't know anything about a Dynasty Warriors type game, they are hack and slashes where you mow down waves of enemies. Like I said, this has been the first Warriors type game I have ever played, and I quite enjoyed it. This definitely isn't my favorite type of game though, because it does get pretty repetitive. So if there wasn't a Zelda skin slapped on it, I probably wouldn't have played it. One of my favorite parts about Age of Calamity was all the familiarity that this game gives you if you've played Breath of the Wild. Familiar places, same faces, and all the races. In this title, you get to take control of your favorite characters from Breath of the Wild. Link, of course, Zelda, the 4 champions, Impa, Hestu, the Monk, Master Koga, King Rome, and the 4 Great Fairies, which were a frick and a half. And some other characters that are spoilers for the story, so I'll keep my mouth shut. Every character feels different, with all new movesets and weapons that they get to go about destroying Ganon's minions with. Link definitely feels the most fleshed out, with lots of different moves, from sword spinning to shield surfing, plus he gets the most diverse arsenal of weapons to choose from. Two-handed weapons, spears, boomerangs, and the Master Sword, which once you get it, there's no reason to use any other weapon because it's the best. The characters that were my favorite to play were Link, Zelda, who becomes pretty broken later in the game, Impa, and Mifa. But it was a lot of fun using all the different characters and discovering their different movesets. There were a couple characters that were just not fun to use. Rivali's movesets weren't very good in my opinion, and they didn't hit very hard. The Great Fairies, oh my lord, they were awful. Not because they're movesets, but because of how freaking big they are. The camera doesn't know what to do half of the time because most areas are really small. Not to mention that if you play as other characters while the fairies are running around, they can block your path, keeping you from progressing or even push you out of the way. Hestu was another character to play as far as movesets go, but he uses maracas. Come on, that is pretty cool. Imagine being this Lionel in hell after he died. So, how'd you go out, Frank? A big tree with maracas killed me? Another cool aspect that they integrated into the combat was the use of the Sheikah Slate, which every character apparently has now. You can throw bombs, stasis enemies, use magnesis, and cryonis. Along with slaying a bunch of smaller enemies, you also encounter captains, such as moblins, Hinoxes, Wizrobes, Stone Talos, Guardians, and Lynels. The captains throw all sorts of attacks at you that you can quickly react to, from dodging to perform a flurry attack, to seeing whatever Sheikah icon that displays above their head to stun them. Each one has a little wheel icon that appears. Attacking them eats away at it, and once it falls, you can perform a weak point move that deals a lot of damage. While in combat, you also build up a special move bar that once it's full, you can perform a heavy attack that also deals a lot of damage. Each character performs different special moves, so it's pretty fun to go through each one and watch them destroy enemies. Plus, depending on which enemy you are fighting, it can change. On top of all that, they also kept the elemental aspects in this game. Some enemies can have different elemental effects that they fight with, but you also have the Wizrobe staffs that allow you to stun the enemies by using fire, ice, and electricity. You can also control your party while in battle, commanding where you want each character in your party to head to, and then switching to them whenever you want. You can even control the 4 divine beasts in this game, blowing the hell out of enemies. And as if you didn't get enough of collecting little Korok turds in Breath of the Wild, you get to do it again. I honestly thought going into this game that it was going to be a short 10-ish hour playthrough with not a lot of content, but man was I wrong. Apparently I didn't look into the first Hyrule Warriors because that game has a lot of content. There is so much that they poured into this game that kept me engaged the entire time. One of the biggest aspects that kept me hooked was the interactive map of Hyrule. All these little icon quests that you light blue by completing specific tasks were so satisfying and addicting at times. Most quests have you collecting certain material items and killing a specific amount of enemies. It all connects so well together, really giving you a reason to slay as many enemies as possible and trying to explore throughout each mission, because completing these quests can give you different costumes for Link, additional movesets for whatever character said quest is for, and even new cooking recipes that can be applied before each mission. Each new dish grants you some specific temporary upgrade for that mission. You can also level up characters, buy and sell items, and fuse weapons to upgrade your favorite weapons that can be used in battle. Honestly, I could go on about the map and all that it has to offer, but the part that I loved the most about this game was the story. Seeing all my favorite characters again was really satisfying and keeps you hooked, wanting you to play more. They do a good job of leaving you on cliffhangers after each main story mission you complete. There were so many touching story beat moments throughout the game. Zelda gets a lot of emotional moments, and Mipha of course gets her cute I wanna make love to Link moments. This story does such a good job of portraying how bad the situation was 100 years ago. I mean, you get it for the most part in Breath of the Wild, but in this title, you actually experience it and find out why Zelda was such a bitch to Link in the beginning. I mean, she's such a young girl with the fate of Hyrule on her shoulders. She really did try her little heart out to save everyone. Now, for those Zelda fans that complained about the lack of a soundtrack in Breath of the Wild, you will be pleased with the amount of amazing tracks that are in Age of Calamity. From devastating world-ending melodies to upbeat fight sequences and emotional somber piano moments that help submerge you deep into the story, sucking you into Hyrule and these characters that much more. The story in Age of Calamity is the real reason why every Zelda fan should play this game. The overall gameplay was pretty fun and engaging that kept me hooked all the way through. I mean, it does get pretty repetitive just mashing 2 buttons the entire time, but it was fun nonetheless. The story that this game tells has a lot of twists and a huge game changer that may have changed the story for Breath of the Wild too. A lot of people are pretty upset about the changes that they made to the story, and there are others like me that just enjoyed the ride the entire time. Is this game's story canon to Breath of the Wild? Well, there really hasn't been any confirmation on it yet. But leave it to Nintendo to confuse the hell out of the Zelda fanbase by doing time travel yet again. Yeah, at the beginning of the game, this little guy goes back in time, and we all know what time travel does to the Zelda timeline. Either way, this story was so much fun watching it unfold, and I highly recommend that any Zelda fan check this one out.
Master, it's done.
Good, my child. We are one step closer to getting the world addicted to Zelda games. Next time, we play the Wand of Gamelon.
What? No! Oh, come on, man. F you. I'm out. Guys, I'm done. Zelda games suck. I quit.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like. Consider subscribing. We post videos like this every single week. And as always, keep it rad.